I have lambasted the Jones boys a bunch, saying
Just a
saying
little.
that they're never going to win a championship because they won't let football teams, those teams, be teams, and they fall in love. Like Jerry Jones in a presser basically said, "We like the players we have." So that to me is like, because they were asking him about bringing in Garoppolo, and he goes, "No, Cooper Rush, he will be just fine." And it was just like, that's a team that's not playing to win championships.
I do like your conspiracy theory, even though like Jerry Jones is 80 years old. But if let's go with the pattern that he's telling the truth. If he's telling the truth, he's saying that because he wants to get rid of Mike McCarthy and he wants to get Sean Payton, and it's going to happen anyway.
Hey, that's a big old conspiracy theory right there too. Now, yeah. Come on.
Like I also think maybe they're happy with Cooper Rush because, i.e., in terms of cap space, even though I think they have like $11 million, I don't know how many other quarterbacks that can really squeeze under that to keep some extra room to move. So, like, they still have to find a team that's willing to. Again, I forget what Jimmy Garoppolo's restructure is, like $6 million.
Yeah, it is
something
right,
like
right about
so
6.
he could slide in, but again, kind of like going back to what J Boy said, Trey Lance looked shaky enough, and I think this 49ers team is a really good team. I mean, you watch how that defense played. I don't think you want to get rid of Garoppolo. Like if they lose, because their schedule really picks up after they play the Seahawks, I believe this week. It picks up after week 2,
big time.
So like need to hold on to him, so they're not in a place where they can just put. And just to kind of build off your point, Lugs, you look at the rest of the NFC East, who we I'm not going to say we as a whole lambasted. Maybe it was just more so me. But obviously the Eagles, even though it was a close game against the Lions, Eagles offense looked impressive. I mean, they had 4 guys score touchdowns. And, their new acquisition, A.J. Brown, went for over 150 yards receiving. It took them a half, but, man, the Giants looked kind of rough in that first half. But Saquon burst off that huge run, and after that whole second half of that game, for the most part, was just the Giants pouring it on. You got to give respect to Dayball. He goes for 2. He doesn't want to pussyfoot around like Lovie Smith did at the end of the game. Like who wants to go for a win, and Saquon converts it. And then again, I know we've taken shots at him, so we got to give him respect. Carson Wentz. Yeah. Balls out against the Jaguars. So it's for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. And just they are so loaded with talent with Jahan Dotson, the rookie, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuels currently is healthy. They got Logan Thomas and Antonio Gibson out of the backfield. I mean, that's the thing. There's even with him throwing 2 picks Sunday, he has too many weapons to completely, I think, bust out. So it's going to be bad for Cowboys because the other 3 teams kind of showed out.
Yeah, and just sort of a side note.
This is Chase Daniel calling in on line 1.
Oh, really?
He's looking for a gig and thinks the Cowboys and Jerry would listen. He's made about $69 million just holding a clipboard. Good old Chase, our guy. Where is he this year? Anybody know? Where is that guy?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll get back to him. Chase, thanks for calling.
Well, I was just going to say, odd thought here. Tom Brady, when he retired, looked at the other quarterbacks in his division and thought, Jesus, I'm better than any of these guys. That's why he came back, because he can stay there. They can win that easily. It's just, look at the quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, your boy, Ryan Tannehill, is it?
No, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota, you're right. And Jameis,
Now, look, to be fair, those 3 quarterbacks, for the most part on Sunday, they played well. Just, I guess in overarching, to be fair, those other teams aren't as good as the Bucs. Even with all the injuries the Bucs have had, coming out of that game or coming into the season, the Bucs are still the team to beat. But I don't know. The Saints are confounding. The Jameis threw for, I think, only like close to 60 yards through 3 quarters, and then like explodes for like 210. in the last quarter of the game, has 2 touchdowns to Michael Thomas, who threw almost a full game. You're like, oh, he is washed up. Like, he hasn't really played since 2020. And all of a sudden, this man scores 2 touchdowns, one of them over AJ Terrell, a very fine corner, where he essentially just posterized him. So maybe he's back. Jarvis Landry had a good game. And, even to be fair to Baker started to turn it on. And, I know we've kind of protected Jacoby Brissett. I will say this, watching that game, they have to really protect him. They would go on 3rd down and long. He would always throw short of the chains. And you're like, what is going on here?
That's not the goal of the game, right? That's generally to get past the chain. Did I miss that? And, in Pee Wee football? Yeah.
You could tell, like, Chubb and their running attack, they had over 200 yards rushing. They're gonna have to run the ball like 35 times a game to, I think, keep the boat afloat till they get Deshaun Watson back. Because, I mean, God bless Jacoby Brissett. He did not look great.
Yep. And this is the Aaron Rodgers fan club meeting. There's one guy in Sheboygan who thought he had a good game. I love the graphic that showed Justin Jefferson had more yards than the entire Packers offense. That's some good stuff. That is some good coming back at you, Mr. Rodgers.
And then when you look at Devontae Adams and what he did,
that's painful.
It's obvious Rodgers needed Devontae more than Devontae needed Rodgers.
I'm glad you both said that. I think, look, J-Boy and I do respect Rodgers as a player, but thought it got kind of absurd when people are like, Devontae Adams was made by Aaron Rodgers. It's like, All right, we now have one sample game where Derek Carr, where he threw him 14 times and he had 140 plus yards receiving. It's like, no, Devontae Adams is good regardless of who the quarterback is, for the most part.
No matter what uniform he's got on, right?
He didn't want to come back. Like, that was said. Like, they were willing to pay him, and he didn't want to come back. And look, Derek Carr is his guy, but yeah, there might be also, maybe he was tired of living in Wisconsin and wanted to live in Vegas. Obviously.
Do you think?
Yeah. But
I love Wisconsin.
He had as much cheese as he could handle. What?
Yes, sir.
Just the weird thing about Rodgers too is, like, he threw a bomb to their new rookie Watson, and it was a nice throw by Rodgers, and he dropped it, and then he showed a cutaway of him looking over to the sideline, kind of being like, see, this is why I don't want to throw it to him. It's like, how's that going to help your team?
Right.
How's it going to help your team? It's like, I don't know. Like, look, you put them in this situation. Did you have to take this huge contract? No. Like, this is what happens when you eat all this money. There's a give and take. Like, they don't have money to go out and even get Juju Smith-Schuster, who went to, KC.
Right.
Or, you could have got someone who's adequate. Again, look, God bless him. I loved him in college, but Sammy Watkins at this point, I don't know what Sammy Watkins can give you.
Wasn't like Sammy, they call him, I think, don't they? And Lugs, have you ever had those cheese curds, man? Those cheese curds up there. I'm going to argue with on that. That's some good stuff. Cheese curds.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, Devontae can't get enough of that, I'm sure.
And I guess
all right.
The last team that you feel kind of good about, but also take a step back. You watch that Miami Dolphins defense; they are scary.
Yeah.
I mean, just how they create pressure and create turnovers. But at the same time, on the other side, he played okay. But just when you watch Tua, it's never going to happen. Tua's never going to be a top 15 quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. He's just never going to be a top 15.
All right, a couple of notes before we leave the NFL. Did you know this? It's official. The season kickoff of Monday Night Football on ABC ESPN handed the TV Emmy Awards their worst ratings ever. Yes.
I can believe it.
Are they ever going to learn the NFL could do no wrong? Please. And this factoid, and this is big for you Lions fans out there, for the first time in 24 games, that's over 2 seasons, the Lions are favored in the game this weekend over the Commodores. You go, Lions. They're going to win some games this year. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think they will. I saw an interview with the kid that came from Michigan, and is on the Lions now, and they asked him about Dan Campbell, And he goes, that guy is humongously scary.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humongously scary. I'm going to put that.
Yeah.
in my
They asked him
vernacular.
who was more scary, Harbaugh or Campbell. And he goes, Coach Campbell is humongously scary.
That's good. So, Lugs, what do you say we do a little sportsy yesteryear? We'll come back, do a little college football, talk about Texas A&M and that Yell night and all that crazy stuff that happened. You ready for some sportsy yesteryear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right,
sir.
let's
Go
do
ahead.
it. Here we go. Sportsy yesteryear. He's our man out flaunting about in his used Datsun pickup. Here he is, Lugs, live and in person. Go, baby, go.
All right, 1923, in his fourth heavyweight boxing title defense, Jack Dempsey recovers after being sent through the ropes by challenger Louis Firpo. Dempsey KOs Firpo in the second round at the Polo Grounds in New York City. 1930, Detroit Lions, then known as the Portsmouth Spartans, play their first NFL game and win 13-6. 1954, Giants, Willie Mays gets 82nd extra base hit, breaks Mel Ott's record. 1968, Louisville's Jimmy Ellis beats Floyd Patterson in 15 rounds of heavyweight boxing for the title. 1986, Bo Jackson hits his first home run as a major leaguer, a 475-foot shot. The solo shot is the longest ever at Royal Stadium. And finally, in 2003, Baltimore running back Jamal Lewis sets the NFL single-game rushing record when he runs for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns on 30 carries as the Ravens beat Cleveland 33-13. That's your sports of yesteryear for this week.
Thank you, Lugs, for that little bit of information there. Bo knows. Okay, Bo Jackson. Remind me again what happened to him. Hip, knee, what blew his
Hip.
whole life up? Hip?
Yeah, it was a hip. It got yanked out of place, but he didn't go get it. It's the same injury that happened to Tua. But Tua, they got in and did surgery and fixed it. And Bo tried to limp around and then it decayed or,
Yeah, atrophied.
yeah. So
What a
he
shame.
had to have a hip replacement.
Because he was playing 2 sports in the same calendar year for a while there, wasn't he?
And playing them well.
Yeah, unlike Deion. Look, Deion's one of the greatest football players of all time, but I think you all would agree, as a baseball player, he was okay. He was not like Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was genuinely good to great in both.
Well,
So
I just remember that one highlight where he's playing the outfield and somebody hits one that's going over the fence and he runs up the fence sideways and catches the ball.
yeah, like a cartoon action hero.
Yeah.
It
Like-
was, man. It was
Yeah.
just nuts.
But maybe no crossover athlete was worse than Michael Jordan in baseball.
Yeah.
No.
Like a 220 batting average, 3 home runs and 18 RBIs.
Yeah.
The problem with a tall guy, he's got a big strike zone, so that works against you.
Well,
Right.
and he needed a baseball the size of a basketball to be able to punch it somewhere, I'm afraid. And, he is one of my boys from Carolina.
Yeah,
So
Yep. All right, let's talk a little college football. College football. Where do you want to start with this? So many things happen. I don't even know where you want to start. Take it away. Just get this going.
I like the Marshall team
Yes.
taking it to the Dame. You had a weekend of upsets, and so I just like the idea because usually Notre Dame can dress out at least 450 players on scholarship. It's crazy, and Marshall probably has 20 scholarship play. I don't know. I'm making that up,
Of course.
but anyway, good for those boys, and also obviously for the long shot winners. App State taking it to Texas A&M. You got to give them that.
Absolutely. Did you see the midnight yell? You probably have, where the guys midnight the night before the game from A&M saying, well, these guys from the country only have 2 brain cells and they can't read a map. I hope they can find their way to the stadium. And they tried to take it down off of social media. They were unsuccessful. And people have just been running it and running it and running it. It's embarrassing. I don't know what A&M can do to get its credibility, if it had any, back again.
The greatest thing is too, and look, obviously the top teams in the SEC, like Alabama and Georgia,